Hi, I'm Irene, and this is Milo, my 13-and-a-half-year-old Brussels Griffon. If you're new to my channel, for the last 5 years I have been traveling around in my Dodge Ram Explorer 230 XL wide van. Well, today I want to take some time and I want to go over an important issue that I wanted to share for a while on one of my goals that I have had for a long time. I have wanted to pick back up this goal after being on the road. Now, in the beginning, when I started this journey, it started out to be to keep me and my 2 Brussels Griffons together because I could no longer work because of disabilities. But during that time, before that happened, I was also on a very important journey when I discovered someone by the name of Dave Ramsey. Now, his focus can be towards Christians, it's Christian base, but you don't have to be a Christian to follow him or to listen to what I have to say. It is just anybody out there that has just wanted to take control of their finances. Stay. Don't click off, because I have so much to share that I have been trying to achieve, not giving up. Still don't want to give up. And I have just learned so much from this journey. So I hope you'll stick around and hear what I have to say, hear about this part of my journey. And also, I want to share that I had a person from one of my past recent videos when I talked about my breakdown of my van, and I talked about that I was so thankful I had an emergency fund. I could get my van fixed with cash. I was in a hotel. I'll put a link to that video for the full story there. And I was able to pay cash because I was not expecting to have to go into a hotel because I'd never had to go into a hotel on any other, past breakdowns with my van, but times have changed and it's really hard to find places that allow you to do that. So now I'm seeing you have to have a hotel expense put in there into your emergency fund. So I had a person ask, well, how much do you need to have for an emergency fund? So I'm going to go over that in another video because I have so much that I feel that I could share from my experience and from my knowledge and everything regarding that. I would love to share more, but I'll do that, I promise, in an upcoming video because I do want to answer a lot of your questions. But before I do that, I want to get this one out to share this financial kind of journey that I've been on as well for a long time. All right, so let's get started. So my journey started back before I could no longer work, when I wanted to become debt-free. At that time, I had lots of credit cards. And I started to see how much I was paying a month in just interest. I was just like so crazy in like frustration. I was spending, I believe at that time, like $400 a month in interest. It was just crazy. I had a house and I had a line of credit and I had all of these, couple credit cards. I believe at that time I had about 4 or maybe 5, okay? And I believe that God started me on this journey to become debt-free. Now, whether you believe in God or not, this isn't the message here. It's the fact that when you owe that much, a lot of money to lenders, and you have, so much you're putting out in interest, I learned that that was lost money. This was money that was making other people rich. They were gaining from this and not me, okay? You don't have to have a lot of debt in order to keep a FICO score, That's just the lie that's out there. The whole process of my journey was discovering that I needed to take charge of my finances. I needed to start making my money start to work for me instead of my money working and making other people rich and benefiting them. I needed to make my money work better for me. So I knew that was the journey I needed to go on. So I went hungered for everything I could learn to become debt-free. At least that was my goal. And especially by the time I hit retirement age, that is what I wanted to do, because at that time I believe I was in my late 40s or something like that, or mid to late 40s when I started that journey. So I went and saw Dave Ramsey at a speaking engagement. I went through his Financial Peace University. I bought his book. I did everything to just learn what I needed to conquer this issue. Now, when you say the word budget, it's like the nasty B word or something out there. When I actually learned budgeting was my best friend, because once I started to learn to write things down, I was able to discover where I could save money, where I could start to learn to let my money work better for me by making it behave, controlling it, learning discipline, because I wanted that goal of being debt-free one day, and I still do. I'm not there, so this isn't I got success journey, but boy did I conquer a lot of issues though. And we're going to learn more about this as time goes on, of what I've been learning, what I've been discovering, how to save money, how I got to where I am to have an emergency fund, live more debt-free, because I have been able to do that, okay? And being out on the road in this van life has definitely helped me to achieve some of those long-term big goals, okay? So number one, budget. You have to learn to budget, no matter how much you make. This is not about only people that have lots of money can learn to budget. It doesn't matter if you make a lot or a little. I don't think I made like a whole lot of money. I was probably, average, but I wouldn't say that I made a tremendous a lot of money doing what I did, but I just learned to make my money behave. Now, right now, what I've been using that I really like are these dingbat little tiny notebooks, and I write my budget in here. I've done it many different ways, but I could get a lot of years out of this because I am out on the road. I don't have a really large expense out there. Mine is pretty minimal because of being here. But I just basically kind of I just write out little sections, of my van expenses, my credit cards, my gas, my food. Some people will use a computer program, whatever works. But the whole point is you have to have it in writing of what you have total coming in and what you've got going out, where you can cut, where you can save, and your plan to be debt-free if that is your goal. And that became my goal, is to be debt-free. But this little book right here is my new type of a planner, and I just love it because it just is the perfect size, especially while I'm in the van and I don't have all of the house expenses and utilities and things like that. But I still have to plan for things. Still, there's still expenses that are out here. And in another video, if you want, put it in the comment, I could get into more in depth of the finances that I feel that this van life has cost me. Okay? The other thing that I want to share is, as I was going on this journey to be debt-free, I was starting to lose my job. I could no longer work. I started to see my body fail me. When that was happening, I was seeing some dreams crushed, okay? And it was very heart-wrenching and devastating for me. But I believe God kept giving me a scripture, and I started seeing it everywhere. And it's Jeremiah 29:11, and it goes like this: "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Now, I was always thinking maybe this had to do with finances, but when it says plans to prosper you, I don't think necessarily that was the big picture here, but I'm definitely seeing this journey of learning to find peace, contentment, minimalist life, just being content with less. I didn't need a whole lot to be content that I thought I did, because that's what society teaches you, is, you're keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with the buying things and having things, and we just put so much of our identity in that type of life or lifestyle. And I really believe that he was teaching me that simple, less is more. You can find contentment, peace is in within, not on the exterior. But it took me a long time to get here. Even in the first years of my van life, I was on this journey of discovery that I wasn't there yet. So I was in turmoil. I was struggling. I'm going to get into that more this year, because you take who you are out there with you here on the road. And so if you haven't discovered yourself or peace and within and all, you're going to come out here and you're going to be miserable, because even though you've got the beauty out here, and it's gorgeous, but there's still ups and downs in this lifestyle. And if you don't have some kind of inner peace, when you go through hardships out here, it's going to be difficult. It's no different out here than in the city, because you still have you with you and you're still taking all of your issues with you, if that makes sense. So I started seeing this everywhere. I mean, when someone at church would pray for me, they were praying this. I would see this everywhere. It would pop up on, just coming through my Facebook feed. A friend gave me this, actually. I was just seeing it everywhere. Someone, just like I said, I'd have going through a hard time, someone would send this scripture and say, well, here's the scripture. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's that scripture. So I was just starting to see this scripture everywhere. And I think that's not by, coincidence, obviously. I really believe that that has been really something that has held me so strong through this journey. So my van not only gave me my independence back, it also, when I could no longer work anymore, helped me to hold on to my dream of being debt-free one day, especially by the time I officially get to retirement age, or, near that age or a little after that age. So that's one of the things that I wanted to share. So as we go on through this year, when I start talking about ways of saving money, I want to get into that more this year, especially when I'm seeing inflation. Some people probably just are trying to survive. They just want to get through this. Or me, yes, I'm trying to survive inflation. But my goal is to eat healthy, maintain my health, because I have came so far with my health. I'm pharmaceutical free now. Even if you're not able to achieve that goal, but if you're just able to just keep a much healthier diet and healthier life and lifestyle as we're getting older, that's huge right now. And be able to do that, especially with these crazy inflation prices and stuff that's going on. So my journey this year is to share with you guys how I'm going to be doing this. I'm spending so much time and research on recipes and things to get out there and still shop, but stretch my meals, stay healthy, but maintain a grocery budget goal that I have set before these inflation prices, so that I could be debt free. My goal is 2.5 years from now. So by 2024 of that year, probably around May or by the end of the year, I hope to be debt free. So I want to be sharing that journey and be able to be open and upfront with what's going on, so that you'll understand when I share things. That's what my goal is, and hopefully you'll pick up some tricks along the way as well. So now that my van has had an emergency, my goal is I have to save up money to put back into that emergency fund. That's the way it works. So what I want to do here is I want to put in Dave Ramsey's baby steps. And I'm not saying you have to go by those baby steps, every single one of them, or in order, or follow it by the letter. I just want to share these baby steps because they have made a huge difference in my life. I didn't actually do every one of them, as he mentioned, but first let me put that in so you'll get an idea how I use this as a guide. Okay, so you can see baby step number 1 was have an emergency fund. The reason why he says $1,000 at front, because obviously out here and in this world, $1,000 really isn't going to cut it. But he's trying to get people to be able to not depend on their credit cards to get them out and bail them out of the emergency. So if you've got that cash on hand, you'll be able to lean on that, and he wants you to be able to get to those credit cards and do what's called a snowball method, and you start at your lowest one first, of the amount that's the balance of it, not the interest rate, but the balance, so that you can get that one knocked off, get that one gone. So that is the goal, to get a momentum going. So that way you feel the reward. And I did see that because I knocked off quite a few of them before I lost my job. I started to see it work. Oh, I almost forgot. The most important thing that he is trying to show is that it is a behavioral issue. So by knocking off the smaller one and snowballing and getting to the bigger one is so that you can see the reward and achieve your reward, But also, by doing that, you can see that it is the behavioral issue that you are trying to overcome of the dependent on the credit cards, of spending, not spending, learning to pay yourself first. That's the big one. And I still to this day try to put over my budget. I don't care if it's $5, $10, $20 a week, a month, out of any of those numbers. Pay yourself first. You have to get to that place. I read a book I wanted to share called $5 a Day, and it talked about paying yourself first. Also, that changed my life. Now, I wasn't able to do the $5 a day, but even if it was $5 a week, that's the mental change that also was the drive of teaching me to work on paying myself first instead of going into debt, into the credit cards, that I had to make that change. And boy, did that change my life. Okay, so I wanted to share that too. And then I did take some money from my house and I did pay off a few more, but I did take a few of them with me on my journey out here on the road. But I saw the momentum, I saw the ability of being able to get them knocked off faster by that snowball method. Now, I was able to take money from the sale of my house and obviously have a higher emergency fund. For a while I was really just living off of the sale of my house, which kept me afloat. When I was trying to fight for my SSDI, which I shared, I had lost that because of being on the road, not able to keep up with medical doctors, and I had to build a new case because of reasons that I had stated in my first recap video, which I'm going to finish that here soon. I promise. I just want to get so many videos out and share so much with you all. So I was living off of that, but I also jumped ahead. As you see on his baby step, it was the planning for the retirement. I believe that's number 4. So I went ahead, and while I was working, which honestly was the smartest move I ever did, even though he said not to do that, I had to go by my gut because I knew at that time my body was failing me. I was struggling with issues for a long, long, long time. I struggled for 20 years of leg weakness that I could never get an answer for until 20 years later, maybe about 5 years before I lost my job, I got the answer to what that was, and that was called adult tether cord syndrome. So I had an issue going on with my spine that I was born with, but it took them 20 years to diagnose me. But the whole time I was working, I was dealing with symptoms of a leg weakness. So I knew I was on a ticking time bomb, and I didn't have a name for whatever it was that was going on. So I started to make sure that I utilized a 401k with my company. I made sure I contributed into it because I knew they would match me up to 6% of whatever I put in. And I knew that was free money, that they were putting in. I was not going to take a chance of my body failing me and not taking advantage of that opportunity. Yes, I had to put money into it. I had to make sacrifices. But his program taught me to write out that budget, where I could do my cutbacks, where I could save money, Instead of going out to eat, several times a month, I only went out once a month. If I was going to the movies a couple of times a week, I only went, once a month. Cut out magazine subscriptions. I was doing whatever I could in areas to cut back at that time to make sure that I was paying myself first so my company would match that. I cut down my cable. I only had basic TV at that time. And I'm so glad I did that because it paid off. And I ended up leaving my job because I could no longer work. I went on short-term disability and never went back. I didn't touch that money. The money that I was able to save at that time, I don't say it was like a whole lot, but it was enough I was happy with. That has doubled up to this day right now. That money has doubled just by not even touching it. I haven't been able to contribute into it, but just the fact that it's just been sitting there compound interest, that money has doubled. So I am so grateful for what I did. And my plan right now is to not touch that until I'm 65. At least that's the goal. I'll be 62 towards the end of the year. So it means more sacrifices, and I'm willing to do that to achieve that goal. Continue to let that money grow because I have a goal by the time I'm 65. Then I can touch that money, okay? And the reason why is because when I am 65, I will be forced on Medicare. They'll take that out of the Social Security. Now, right now, I did win survivor's benefits, so I no longer have to continue living on the money that I got from my sale of my house, which that isn't really, I don't have a whole lot of that left, but enough that I have that as an emergency fund. I paid off some other debts so I could bring down that interest that I saw that I was still paying out there. I was still paying about $185 a month in interest on the couple credit cards that I had. And I said, no, I'm done with this. My gut was telling me, be debt free as soon as you can. And I have been listening to that voice that's really been speaking to me for the last couple of years to put a rush on it, okay? So I did that. So now I'm down to like paying, I don't know, like maybe $70, $75. I have to look on, since I made a big dent on one of my cards and paid off one and put another dent on another one and kept emergency fund for my van. So I'm happy. I kept, as far as that emergency fund, I kept enough for the several big repairs for my van. My tranny could go out. That could be $3,000 to $5,000. I just kept enough for a couple really big van repairs. Okay, that I'm okay with that. Now, if worst scenario, if I had to touch that 401k, I can, because you have to be 59 and a half to touch that. I am now over that. So I do have that money that I can touch anytime I want to. It's just my personal goal is not to until I'm 65. But if some drastic horrible thing happens, my van is totally gone, I've got that to lean on as well. I just don't think of it, okay? So I'm back on track and I'm trying to get out of debt. My goal is 2.5 years and use the snowball method, back on that, and buy property, just hang low on and not travel a lot. I wanted to share these things because the journey is still hard. It's going to be still a hard 2.5 years because of inflation. And so I want to take you still along this part of my journey. So when I share that it's difficult, or I'm sharing that I'm cutting back, or, and if you want to do it with me, let's do this together. So we're not alone in this, because sometimes the rewards in the end, I can see the rewards are so worth the discipline, so worth it. And I can see almost at the end, I can see it coming. I can see I'm so close, I can almost touch it. And I'm not willing to let this inflation burst my bubble. I'm going to still, whatever I need to do, achieve this goal. So I'm going to take you on that journey. We're going to still stay healthy. We're going to eat good, keep our over 60 bodies nice and strong and healthy, and achieve some really cool, exciting goals. And I can't wait for that day. He does this thing with his program where you finally get debt free. You get to scream, "I'm debt free," And I just want to achieve that goal, okay? Now, one of my credit card debt bills was something I've been carrying from my ex-husband. I bailed him out of a couple situations, and I'm still kind of dragged out carrying a really high credit card that I let him use on engine repairs. And then he lost his job, wasn't able to work, and then he got cancer, and then he passed away. So I was left with that bill. So that one will be done in 2.5 years, along with my other one that I hope to achieve by that 2.5 to maybe 3 years. I just wanted to share this so that you will understand more of my journey, that this van life has really helped me to stay focused on some really exciting and important goals in my life. Even though van life is not always like the Instagram pictures, it's not always easy. It's very hard at times, and not very many people stay in it as long as I have. Once they get out here and they experience the hardships, and it's really challenging. It can be emotionally challenging. I'll get into that in other videos. But I also have another really important, life-changing goal that I am trying to achieve, is where I get to my determination and my strength, to be out here more than 5.5 years, okay? So I hope you find this video interesting, and I hope it helps you in some kind of way, or going through anything like that, financial struggle or a goal that you want to achieve and you want to be debt free, or you have any additional questions, definitely put it down in the comment, and I will get another video out about that question, about how much of an emergency fund should a person have if they're going to come out here. So stay tuned for that coming up ahead. In the meantime, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video and be a part of my journey. And I love you all, and I'll see you in that next video.